we're getting lowballed by the insurance company. Hey, if that's happening to you, I've got 4 tips and tricks for you how to respond to a low offer from the insurance company after your auto accident case. My name is Brian Glass. I'm a lawyer in Virginia, but I'm not your lawyer. If you want legal advice that's tailored to your case, you actually have to call a lawyer. These are just 4 tips and tricks that I've learned in a decade and a half of dealing with lowball offers from insurance companies. Number 1 is figure out whether you're on the same page. Take a breath, right? If you feel insulted by the offer, if you feel like your claim has been discounted, we got to take a breath first, and we got to make sure that we're on the same page. Make sure that the insurance adjuster has all of the information that you think they have. Does the total medical bills that you submitted match the total medical bills that they received? Does the total wage loss that you think you claimed match the total wage loss that they think you claimed? A lot of times, lowball offers can be solved just by a simple conversation around, hey, here's what I think I communicated to you. Did you look at all that stuff? Sometimes it can't, but sometimes you catch like big gaps where they didn't have bills from a certain provider, they didn't have records from a certain provider. The insurance company almost never comes out and tells you exactly what they've looked at and what they haven't looked at when they're presenting the offer. They just tell you the number, right? Most adjusters won't take the time to explain all of that to you, which is why it's important to ask. And anytime I get a low offer, that's the first question that I ask. Hey, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I've submitted, let's say, $25,000 of medical costs, $5,000 of lost earnings. Number 1, did you get all of that? Number 2, if you got all of that, how much of that are you giving my client credit for? And if you're not giving them credit for some amount of the medical bills, why not, right? The first part of negotiation is learning. We want to learn what the insurance company looked at, what they cared about, and what they didn't look at, and what they didn't care about. And unless you know all of that, you can't appropriately respond with a number. One thing that I've learned is that it is useless to give a demand if we don't have agreement on the underlying facts, right? What I want to do first is make sure that we have agreement on what the medical bills and the lost earnings were, and that the insurance adjuster hasn't missed anything, because I don't want to be negotiating against myself. I want their offer to be based on a clear picture of the total case before I make any counter demand or counter offer to the offer that they've made. The second thing that you can do if you're on the same page and you still think the offer is low is call an injury lawyer. Listen, most injury lawyers, if you call us at the end of a case and you're negotiating with an insurance company, we'll get on the phone with you and we'll walk you through what kind of treatment did you have, what were your medical costs, and what's the offer. We want to know all this because we want to know if we can add any value. And while we can't pinpoint without looking at your medical records and without doing a deep dive into your case exactly what your case is worth, we can tell you, is that in the ballpark or is it not in the ballpark? And here's why that matters. Most injury lawyers are going to charge you 1/3 of the settlement to be involved in your case. Some injury lawyers, if you file suit or if you take the case to trial, are going to charge you 40 or even 45%, which I think is crazy, but some are 40 or 45% at trial or in lawsuit. And we have to have an understanding from the beginning of the case about whether I can add value to your case if I take it. And so if I have somebody who comes to me and has already been through a negotiation with an insurance company and the offer is, let's say, $20,000, and I think the case is worth $22,000 to $25,000, it's important that we have the conversation about that, because at $22,000 or $25,000, you're not seeing any more dollars in your pocket. And so while I might be able to get more money out of the insurance company, I'm not going to be able to put more dollars in your pocket, which is really the only thing that you care about, isn't it? You don't care how much money State Farm or Geico pays. You care about how many dollars are going into your bank account at the end of the case. And so if you call a good injury lawyer after your settlement, they will almost always walk through whether or not they can add value to the case and whether you would be a good fit as a client. Number 3 is to figure out what you actually want. Until you take the time to figure out what you actually want the case to settle for and why you think it should settle for that, either based on other results in the area or based on what you think a jury or judge will award you in the case. Until you've done that, you have no business making a demand to the insurance company. Because it's only after we figure out where we want to end up that we can design our negotiation strategy with a demand that's high enough to get the insurance company there, right? And so you can't go shooting from the hip and just say, well, I want 10 times the medical costs, or I want 10 times what the offer is, or even worse, I just want more than what you've offered, right? We have to know almost to the dollar where we want to end up so that we can tailor our negotiation strategy to that. And you have to realize, number 4, that your best alternative to a negotiated agreement is a lawsuit, right? This is called a BATNA. You have to realize that you only have really one alternative. If the insurance company is lowballing you and they won't come up to where you want to be, the only thing that you can do is file a lawsuit. This does a couple of things. Number one, the immediate effect in most insurance companies is going to take the case off the pre-litigation adjuster's desk and give it to a litigation adjuster. Many times these people have more training, they have more evaluative skills, and they will do another dive into the case, and they may agree with the pre-litigation adjuster. Frankly, the pre-litigation adjuster may have been right and you may be wrong, or they may say, no, that person, they had some things wrong, let's put a little bit more money on the case and see if it settles. Second thing that does is in most insurance companies, there's going to be a cost to defend the case. They're going to have to pay a lawyer either by the hour or by the case to defend your lawsuit. And so some insurance companies will call and say, rather than pay the lawyer, if we put maybe half or 75% of what we expect to pay the lawyer onto the settlement value of the case, would that get the case resolved? And in smaller cases, a lot of times that will get the case resolved. Now, if there's a $100,000 difference between what you think the case is worth and what they think the case is worth, then the lawyer's cost is not going to close that gap. But on a smaller case, a lot of times, having to pay an outside lawyer will close the gap. And so for a long time, there were several insurance companies in the area where the best return on investment you could get was filing a lawsuit, because they would almost immediately put another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on the case, which then ended up in my client's pocket. Because at the end of the day, if you've gone through the three other steps, if we've made sure that we're on the same page, if we've consulted with a lawyer and tried to figure out whether that's a good fit for us, and if we've negotiated and we still can't get there, your only alternative is to file a lawsuit and to see what a judge or a jury thinks. And that's not the kind of thing that I would try to do on my own. So if you're looking for a lawyer to handle your Virginia auto accident case, or you just need a referral to somebody out of state, feel free to give us a call and we will get you in the hands of the right people. Good luck with your case.